At 71, Nate Wilkins is the picture of good health and in the best shape of his life, but it wasn't always that way. By his mid-50s, Nate was overweight and out of shape when a serious health scare forced him to stop, take stock, and make a change. Today, he helps others make that change too as a coach and an ambassador of what he calls pro-aging. In this conversation, Nate shares the formula for transformation that helped him rebuild his body, restore his vitality, and find new purpose in helping others do the same. And he explains how just one small change would eventually lead to big results. Nate, thank you so much for joining me all the way from sunny Miami today. I am so envious.
Thank you so much. I'm fortunate to be here in Miami. But I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts around what I think is probably the most exciting idea today, this notion of pro-aging and longevity.
Absolutely. And I can already see that you're a great example of someone who is aging well at 71.
Well, what I always tell people is I'm 71 years young. There's a difference between 71 years old and 71 years young. And I'm not saying that I'm young because of my body, but for sure I've been taking care of my body because I know that that's the vehicle I have to make it through. But what I'm saying to you is that this ability to move and to do the things that I do at this age, to prepare for my future self, is why I call myself 71 years young.
And we're going to hear all about your magic formula today, which is what I'm so excited about. I'd love to take you back, though, if we could, just to start, because I want to know where this kind of health and fitness journey began, really. I know that you served in the US Navy as a young man. Is that where fitness and exercise first became a focus for you, or is it something that's always been a part of your life?
I'd be lying if I said that that's where it started. I've always had some interest in athletics and sports and what have you. So I played sports when I was in high school, went on to college and played. But there were times, particularly in my professional career, when I did things that weren't quite in my best interest, or at least in my body. It's like so many other people, it sometimes takes a health scare. And for me, it was a health scare. Back when I was living in Cincinnati, Ohio, I had some pain in my chest, and I had sense enough to know through being around others and watching television that if you got pain in your chest, you need to go get it checked out. And I did. Yeah. And that led to doctors trying to determine what was going on. And so I found out that I had some heart issues. And then over a period of time, because of the medication that I was taking, gave me headaches, made me uncomfortable, I decided that I was going to do something different. And that's when I started to walk and to lift weights and take classes. And that's what led to me being a part of what I think is probably the most exciting thing about my future.
At what age were you when you had that health scare?
About 55.
Right. So, I mean, no age. I'm saying that because I'm 52. What was your lifestyle like at the time? I mean, what was the kind of lead up to that?
Well, a little bit of I was playing racquetball, but at the same time, after I got done playing racquetball, I'd go out with my friends and drink a beer, or maybe have a drink, and we eat all of the food that goes along with it. The nachos, the chips, and potato chips, and along with having problems with the right kinds of relationships, I also was delving into wrong kinds of food. So that combination together brought things to a head for me. And I know I'm probably talking to somebody else right now that can relate to what I'm saying. Just not really taking care of myself, knowing that I knew that I needed to do that. I listened to all of the talk about it. I said I was going to do it. I was doing it from time to time, but for the most part, being consistent was the problem.
And wrong relationships, as in you were hanging out with people that wanted to go out and eat the nachos and drink the beers, and that was your kind of lifestyle at the time?
Let me suggest to you that if you hang out with people who are partying all the time, if you hang out with 9 partying people for a period of time, you become the 10th partying person. And we were not serious about it. Of course, we would play racquetball. We would do all types of things, going to the gym and lift weights. But we also had that bad habit of going out afterwards, drinking beer, having the best mixed drinks. But when you have mixed drinks, that mixed with sugar and alcohol, and it may make you feel good, but the next day you're not wanting to go back out. So what I'm saying is that in order to do this work, in order to really be a part of having a lifestyle, and that's what we do now, is that you really have to be consistent, and I just wasn't consistent.
And where was your weight at that point?
I was up to about 230 pounds, and 230 pounds on a frame of a 5'10". I always laugh about it now, but I used to say that the clothes were getting smaller. It wasn't the clothes that was getting smaller. It was me getting bigger. I saw a lot more of myself during that time. And so carrying around that extra weight just really took a toll on me. I just didn't have the energy. I didn't have the vitality that I needed to at that time to be the person that I wanted to be.
And you ended up with what must have been very frightening heart problems and realized that you needed to do something pretty drastic and make a change.
So, that's one thing when you get confronted with these types of challenges, either you make the change or, something happens. And I've had a number of my family and friends who've had the consequences of not paying attention to the signs because they do come. They point out to you the breathing. They point out to you, that you're just overweight. The clothes are not fitting you well. But you don't listen because you feel good on the other side. At least you say that you feel good. So that's what I was facing.
And how did you turn it around then? What did you decide to do?
First of all, I started walking. Walking is interesting. I would recommend walking for anybody. It's really an indicator of longevity. So I would walk small distances, and this is what I'm saying. That inch by inch, anything's a cinch. So little bitty distances, sometimes 5-10 minutes, because I wasn't in that great of a shape that I thought I was in. So 5-10 minutes, and then 5 or 10 minutes more, 15 to 20 minutes. And then the next thing I know, that I started to pick that up and really be able to put in a long period of time, maybe an hour of walking, and not the kind of walking that some would think. I'm suggesting that it was really trying to get the most out of my body during that time. You're perspiring, really pressing myself. And then later on, I met people who were taking classes. And so I started taking classes myself in spinning, or what's called indoor cycling. So that led me into another way of cardiovascular. And let me stop here, because I want to suggest that cardiovascular is a beautiful thing, but the other piece to that really got my body to change was me going into a personal training sessions with a personal training coach and a body of people who were doing this work early in the morning. Like, we would get up at 4:00 in the morning and go work out 15, 20 minutes, a half hour, even 45 minutes, 3 or 4 times a week. And I saw a drastic change in my body through incorporating cardiovascular with resistance training or weight training.
So you were doing the weight training in the gym with the personal trainer around 3-4 times a week.
Absolutely. Not to mention the other things I want to throw in is that the diet had to change. I had to consume a lot more water, a lot less beer, a lot less alcohol, a lot less sugar, a lot less bread. So I'm getting to this question of, what are you willing to give up? And I was willing to give those things up to get my health back. All of those pieces put together helped me change my body. And I'll be willing to answer some more questions about that later.
And when you said that to begin with, you started out by just walking 5-10 minutes, are you saying that at that point, that was quite challenging for you, and after about 10 minutes, you'd be getting out of breath? And is that where your fitness was at that point when you first started out?
Well, it wasn't there when I first started out. Over time, it got to that place. because I just wasn't really putting in the effort. I probably could have done more. I was lazy. That's really what you wanted me to say. And my habits were
I
poor.
didn't want you to say, but I was just curious because I think, gosh, walking 5-10 minutes, and you're 55 years of age, and you obviously felt that was, you were getting out of breath and so on at that point. I mean, it's such a huge contrast from where you are now. I mean, looking back at that period in your life, you must feel way better now at 71 than you did in your 50s.
That's right. You're on point. That's a beautiful point to make. What I'm saying to you is that I was sitting behind a desk. I was an administrator. I managed parks and recreation departments all over the country. The most I would do in a day was I would get up out of a chair to go to a meeting to sit down in another chair.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it started to take a toll on me. This thing doesn't happen to you immediately. It slips up on you. You think it's okay. I was so bad I wouldn't even park my car so that I would have to walk that far. I'd park my car close so that I have to make so many steps.
Yeah.
What I'm saying to you is that the habits that I formed at that time were contraindicators to what I needed to do at 55, because the scale was going the opposite direction. I wasn't getting better. I was getting worse.
And over what kind of time period do you think your health and fitness radically improved?
I can honestly tell you that it doesn't happen, and you know this for yourself, and whoever I'm speaking to will know what I'm saying. It doesn't happen overnight. It was over a period of about 2 years that I could actually see the change in my body. And let me chronicle that for you. So the walking actually led to me breathing better and feeling overall better. But when I started to incorporate resistance training that changed the whole conversation, along with the sleep and the eating and the water and all that stuff, it changed the whole conversation for me, because I started to have to make adjustments in my clothes. First of all, I was wearing suits, so I had to have the suits trimmed right down, the pants, so that they would fit my body. My waist size was getting different. The composition of my body, let me say that, was actually changing. So I had these big jackets that I would wear, and the seamstress would have to cut those down. That then over a period of another 6 to 8 months, or maybe a year, they had to cut them down even more. And then eventually,
I'm getting this visual of you keeping turning up with these pants and jacket for them to keep readjusting.
And eventually, for me, I had to end up buying whole new suits of clothes. The composition of your body gives you, if it changes, it gives you a different perspective about yourself. I could even see it in my face. My face was getting thinner and that's what encouraged me to continue to put in more effort toward changing the composition or the way I responded to my body. But so I think I would suggest to you, over a period of about a year or a year and a half, I saw these changes being made. And I can tell you now that there's even more changes as I go, that I look at myself now and I'm saying, man, you're in better shape than you were when you were 50, 55.
And what did the diet look like then? Or, I mean, has it changed much over the years? What are you eating really to stay in this kind of shape?
You follow all of these fads, and so I've gone through every different kinds of diet that you could think of. I look at it as an eating plan now. So we are more interested in vegetables per se, but we love to make sure we get a large portion of green, in addition to the right amount of protein. And at this age, what I'm finding is that I have to consume 1.5 grams of protein per body weight in order to maintain the muscle. Back during that time, I was eating a lot of eggs. And of course, the debate was whether you should eat eggs with the yolk or whether you should just eat the white. I mean, I did all of those things. But what I'm suggesting to you is that in order for me to maintain and be this person that I am today, that I had to make a decision that it was really about what works for my body and not all these recommendations that came from different places about what to eat and how to eat and when to eat. I mean, I've tried intermittent fasting and I did some good with that, but I wasn't consistent. So what I found is that I needed to find something that would allow me to do what I needed to do. So let me say this. I drink water first with some lemon. And then I find my protein. I get a small amount of protein first, and then later on I get much more protein, and then I start to add the other pieces. And so what I attempt to do is make sure I get the right things in first, and if I have room for the other things, then I do.
Got it. And protein, are you talking about lean meats, that kind of thing? Yeah,
so I don't want to offend anybody. I still consume animal protein. I'm not offended by people. And I don't say that you should only eat animal protein. I think there's ways to get your protein, but for me, because of the way I've raised and the way I feel what I do to feel good is animal protein. And I would say that I've moved away from red meat. My partner still eats red meat, but I limit my red meat. I'm more fish and chicken, and I could probably eat a whole chicken.
Wow,
a whole chicken. But look, I got to hold on to, look at this. I got to hold on
Absolutely.
I got to hold on
amazing.
to the guns. I'm 71. I got to hold on. So I got to feed that protein.
Yeah, well, you were making me think about my mom and dad because they're in their 80s. And they have a lot of fans these days because they started weight lifting at the start of this year. My mother could barely walk at the start of this year.
Fabulous.
She walked 6 minutes down the path unaided the other day because she's been deadlifting, bench pressing, overhead press, the lot.
Impressive.
It's made a huge difference. But I do wonder about the amount of protein. They have upped their protein, but hearing what you're saying, they're in their 80s, you're in your 70s. We have a constant kind of ongoing, should we be upping it even more? So we'll definitely take a look at that to support them. But my dad, he deadlifted 200 pounds the other day. He's 81. So he's making good progress.
Well, he must be doing something right. I mean, if he's still lifting and do 200, I mean, something is going on that allows him, because remember, protein actually helps to build muscle, correct? Right? Yeah. And helps you maintain muscle. So the carbohydrates actually help you with the energy. But in order to have that strength and the power that your father is getting, he has to get it from somewhere. He has to feed his body. He knows that,
he does,
and I know
you know
that.
And I mean, there's no exact amount of protein. We can't be that scientific about it. They try and make sure they have protein with every meal, and they've tried to prioritize it. But seeing you in the shape you're in, he'll be looking at you thinking, I want to get there. So.
Good, and he can. I mean, that's the other thing to this conversation is that what I call myself as a global pro-aging and longevity ambassador. And so I'm saying to you is that it's not too late. It's not too late for your father to maintain and hold on to muscle. And for anybody else out there who is questioning, it's not hard to do. It is that you have to do certain things to maintain.
And I mean, I talk a lot on the channel about the importance of building muscle. I mean, there are so many elements to it. We know that by staying strong, having muscle, we're less likely to fall, which can be catastrophic, really, from over the age of 50, 60. But it's the health benefits too that I don't think a lot of people are aware of, that, it's muscle is a major store of glucose. It helps us regulate our blood sugar, and unregulated blood sugar, of course, is a major driver of disease. So it's just this, I don't think it's understood enough yet. I'd love to know your view on that. Do you think the message is getting out there among older people that, hey, yes, you can build your muscle at any age, and B, it could transform not only your fitness and mobility, but also your health?
I think that the message is actually getting out. I think that conversations like this, podcasts like this, where we talk about it, from a personal standpoint, But, real live things, not what you hear on somebody trying to sell you something. I'm suggesting that these conversations and us being living proof that you can build muscle and maintain muscle through proper eating plans and what have you. It is something that needs to happen. I think that people are saying it, but in order for people to really do it, they have to, get out and try it for themselves and see that they're gaining the benefits from eating well, lifting weights, or whatever it is that they do for their workout program. And again, not everybody's going to do things the way I do it, but I would highly encourage those who are listening to entertain resistance training, whether it's bands or whether it is calisthenics or what have you. I think that it'd be well worth the while.
So somebody coming into your gym now, let's say they're in their 60s, 70s, what would an ideal workout routine look like for them? What is the ageless workout, the ideal ageless workout?
Here's what we always say. First of all, you got to get checked out by your doctor before we can even start the conversation. And it depends on each individual. This is a personalized approach that we use. We've seen it where you just come in and people just start you to work based on whatever they think is going on. But we need to know some things about an individual before we can put them to work. So after we've gotten that information from the doctors and they're ready to go, then there's some basic kinds of things that we like to see happen. One is, can you do balance? How's your balance? How are your squats? Can you do a squat? And how many squats can you do properly so that sit to stand? Can you do a push-up as an example? Even from a wall, can you do some lunges, either forward or backwards or both? Can you move from side to side? What is your power like? So power meaning how quick can you respond to a particular movement? Say, for example, if you stepped off of the sidewalk and you saw something coming, could you step back without falling? So these are the kinds of tests that we run on people. And then we look at ways that we can actually work on weaknesses to get them stronger. Of course, everybody loves the aesthetics, right? They want to have the big muscles. Particularly men, they want to have a big chest. The arms to be big. But what we think is more important is what happens in the lower part of your body. How strong is the foundation? So how strong is it from here all the way down? So we like to work on those things. And then, of course, we like to add some fun pieces for people who need to break up the monotony. How can you actually twist and turn? We think rotation is important. So that gives you some sense of where we want to go. But there are other pieces to our work that I think are important, because we like to incorporate things like Tai Chi. We like to incorporate Pilates and yoga. So all of these are simulated. So it's a total body experience. And for those who want to go further and want to lift heavy, then we can work with them as well. What we suggest is that you master these beginning pieces and then move to other things that can actually give you what it is that you're looking for. So that gives you a sense of where we are.
And what kind of transformations have you seen with the clients that you support?
Particularly in terms of transformation, whether it be the guy who just came out of surgery for prostate cancer and working on holding on to muscle, or whether it be Miss Marilyn, who came from Kansas City and 100 years old and just wanted to be able to stand up out of a chair and to be able to sit down or push her wheelchair, or a guy who is looking to change the composition of his chest, or we talk about people who just came out of a hip replacement and being able to now move without limping. I mean, so that's just a broad spectrum of different individuals. And one last person that I would talk about is Jan, 89 years old, who still wants to push weights, who wants to push, who wants to pull, who wants to do everything because she wants to live to be 120. So she's still in the gym working out at a high level. So you see one end of the spectrum all the way up to the other end. I mean, I could go on and on with different stories about people that have decided to be a part of the new agent of aging.
What do you think it is that holds most people back, and how do you help them overcome it?
I think that old information is probably at the crux of what it is, or somebody has actually done a workout or tried at one point or the other to do a workout and hurt themselves. These are the types of things that would hold somebody back, that they have tried to exercise, tried to lift too heavy, too fast, or linked up with somebody and they gave them exercises to do and found that it wasn't as effective in getting to what they wanted to. So what I'm suggesting is if you're looking to lose weight and you go 3 or 4 weeks and you haven't lost weight, you may lose the motivation. So I think that it's a number of pieces that would force people to really be apprehensive. And I think that the last thing that I would say is the willingness to do something is probably one of the biggest things that hold people back. The getting off of the couch, the changing the diet, that type of thing. I think those are those pieces.
I mean, I do hear from people who say, look, I can't afford a gym. I can't afford equipment. Where do I start? Where do you suggest I start?
You don't have to afford a gym to move. Your movement is, in some instances, is just standing up. In some instances, it's deciding that you're going to put the shoes on. In some instances, it's deciding that you're going to drink water as opposed to drinking a cold soda or pop or something. In some instances, deciding that you're going to eat some salad in addition to whatever it is you eat and change that. I guess what I'm trying to avoid is saying excuses are useless. That it's about excuses. And once we give up on those excuses, then what else is there? I think that getting to a place and deciding that where I am now is not where I want to be, and I got to do something about it. Calisthenics, air squats, pushing your arms in and out is a good place to start, and that doesn't require a gym or a facility. And I said to you earlier in our conversation that my friends influenced me the wrong way. Getting around some people that can influence you to do something differently for yourself, valuing your ability to have independence. And that's really what I'm talking about, is being able to take care of yourself or to spend some time with your grandchildren or travel. I mean, these things are the pieces that allow us to do these things. So we shouldn't look at owning or paying for a gym membership as the piece, but more specifically is how do I get myself to a place where I can do what I need to do for myself.
And as you said, body weight can be used. You can build some significant strength just through body weight exercises at home.
Absolutely. And, there's any number of free programs that you could actually participate in. Let me step back, because I think that one of the things I didn't identify, particularly with older adults, is maybe the use of technology. So maybe technology is a deterrent for some. But I'm saying to you now that some of the technology is so easy that can actually bring a program into your home. You don't even have to leave home. You don't even have to open up your screen. You can hear the person or see the person doing what you need to do, and that will get you motivated to move along. So I think that there are any number of ways that we can get people to participate, and that's the other side of things that we want to do. We know that there's 20% of the people like you and me and your mother and father who are going to do it, who want to do it, and there's another 80% who say that's not for me. And we're trying to get to those people and say that it's really about you taking better care of yourself. And here's some ways, here's some tools that you can do what you need to do.
Nate, I'm interested in helping people visualize what it feels like to be 71, what your day-to-day life looks like in comparison to what it would be if you didn't exercise and eat in the way you do. So say you just lived the average life of a 71-year-old. Can you compare those two things side by side? I mean, is there any aspect of you that feels 71? Do you get more tired at the end of the day than you did at 60? Or
let me say this to you. I know that so for example, I take a flight and I go to visit family for whatever reason. And if I don't move after a day or so, I'm stiff, I'm sore, I'm lethargic. And so when I get back from that trip, and I'm talking about what I just did recently, and I start back to moving and pushing weights and drinking water and walking, what have you, I feel like a totally different person. So that is 71, not moving, just going through the motions, sitting around like in a chair, waiting for somebody to say something to me, as opposed to me going and doing something for myself. That is the 71-year-old person that I don't want to be. Now, here is the 71-year-old person who gets up at 4:30, 5 a.m. I'm in the gym. I got to, I roll out. I use a foam roller because I'm saying I'm stiff, but the foam roller can actually help me to break out those kinks. And after I get the foam roller going, then I can do some walking and some dynamic movements. And you notice I haven't said stretching. I'm saying dynamic movements, movements that allow me to move in certain ways that I haven't been moving. And then I start to lift some weights, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. Man, I'm on fire. I give the young guys and the young women in the gym a run for their money because I'm feeling good. My blood is flowing. My energy level, my vitality is there. So that's the difference between a 71-year-old who is inactive or who is waiting for life to come, for death to come and get him, because it's coming. And here's the one that's saying, if you're going to get me, you better come because I'm moving. If you're looking for me, you better get on the move because I'm going to be down here doing some stuff that's better than, what you can bring. I think of the two, and I would always choose the one that allows me to have the flexibility, the mobility, agility to take care of me the way I want to take care of me. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, it absolutely did. Fantastic stuff. What do you think 81 might look like for you? What do you hope it will look like?
Oh, my goodness. I'm like my friend Jan, who talks about being 120. I think that 81 is going to be an exciting time. Now, don't quote me if I get to be 81 and I'm not there. But what I'm projecting right now is what I'm visualizing right now is that I have my full capacity, my brain. And so let me make sure that we're talking about mental as well as physical. That's important. Health span is important. We like longevity, but I'm saying I want a health span is what I'm saying is I want to still be lifting weights. Maybe not the way that I would lift at 71. Maybe I have to be smarter, but I want to still be in the gym. I'm telling you, Jan is still in the gym pushing weights at 89. So 81 for me allows me to continue to hold on to muscle mass, continue to get up early, work in 3 or 4 times a week, get some massages done, just take care of myself and make sure that I am feeling good about who I am and where I'm going. That's what I think 81 is going to look like for me.
And as you say, you are doing everything you can to escape some of the worst impacts of aging. And I think my mum and dad, who only really started at the beginning of this year in their 80s, show it is possible to turn things around at any age. And the other thing that they talk about is it's taken away the fear of aging, because when they started to feel frailty set in, weakness setting in, it becomes quite a scary place to be in your 80s. But because, like you, they're getting up and they're building their muscle and they're staying strong and they're able to lift things and get in and out of cars and do what they want to do without fear of toppling over or hurting themselves. They feel now very positive about the future and the whole experience of aging versus being left to just face indefinite decline and letting it happen to you. Is that something that resonates with you and your experience of what you see with your clients?
Oh, absolutely. And so that's the conversation. And I think you put it so eloquently. I mean, these are the types of people that we are looking to team up with, link up with, encourage, because there's a whole bunch of us out here. And I would say to some of the other ones, if you are uncertain about it, why don't you grab our hands and let us bring you along the spectrum that we all started somewhere. If you listen to me, I mean, I could have been in a hospital bed somewhere, but somebody helped me get there, and so we're willing to help other people get there. And so I think that's the place that we want to encourage people to be through our conversation. This new age of aging, it's a new way of looking at it and saying, if that person can do it, then I can. And it's not all about necessarily aesthetics. While we want to look good, what it's really about is having vitality and being able to enjoy life the way you want to.
What a fantastic place to finish. And what an inspiration, Nate. It was lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Look forward to hearing more from you and encouraging your parents to stay active and anybody else that wants to be a part of the program.
Well, I'll be showing them this interview and I know they're going to love it. And my dad's going to be aiming to match those biceps. Thank you, Nate.
All right. Thank you.
If you were inspired by Nate's story, then do let us know in the comments what pro-aging changes you've been making or might plan to make after watching this episode. And help us spread the message that we can transform the way we age by liking this episode and sharing it with friends and loved ones you think could benefit from seeing it. You'll find links to Nate's website and socials in the description below this episode, and you can sign up to my newsletter where I round up all my latest episodes and articles so you don't miss a thing. But for now, thanks so much for being here today.